There was no women on the course at all. I was the only one. Especially with the construction side of it, I think it's kind of seen as a dirty industry. I wanted to get the best out of myself and out of life, and just hadn't really focused on what the barriers could be, rather than just look at the positives. Industry, construction, whether that's engineering, ports, is moving at such a fast pace, and the technology that's coming on board and being able to deliver a safe working environment.
So welcome to another episode of Women in Ports. I'm really excited today to welcome Claire Lawrence from Milford Haven. Claire actually is a bit of a poster child for Milford Haven, according to a lot of her colleagues. So I'm really excited to have Claire with me today. So welcome, Claire.
Thank you.
It'd be really, really good, because I've been hearing so much about you during my visit. You know, must speak to Claire. Can you just tell a little bit of the audience about your journey and what you do at Milford Haven?
Yeah, of course. So I started at the port 12 years ago now, and I'm from the local area. Had left school following my A-levels, went in to work at a local estate agency firm, so I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, other than I knew I didn't want to go away to uni. And I saw an apprentice position at the port, so I thought, I'll try that. They had a good reputation as a local employer, and I thought, I'll see what they've got to offer. So yeah, I applied for that, was lucky enough to get the position, and that was in the estates team, so dealing with customers, contractors, dealing with maintenance, looking after the general estate. And it was just something that I really enjoyed, because it was similar to working in the estate agency firm, that you manage lots of properties and you got to see lots of different people, parts of their journeys, starting up a new business, finding premises. That part was really exciting and personal. And then also the maintenance side, which was helping tenants and improve the estate for the public, and also for ourselves, because we occupy quite a large amount of it ourselves. So after a few years completing my apprenticeship, I decided that actually it was the maintenance and the construction industry that I was really interested in, and that's where I thought I'd quite like to pursue my career in that direction. So I asked my director at the time, Jeff, if the port would be willing to sponsor me to do a degree in construction management. And he was brilliant, absolutely, really supportive, said, yeah, we'd love to help you through that. And also it enabled me to gain experience while on site, putting it straight into practice, which I found really helpful, because that is a way that I like to learn, is kind of visually and putting things straight into practice and being able to relate to them in the real world, rather than just in lectures at the time. So I started my foundation degree in the local college, and then I went on to Ammanford then to complete the full degree. So that was a really kind of challenging but exciting part of the career.
So construction management is actually quite an interesting subject matter. There's not many women in that industry, is there?
No.
So how many women did you find on your course and when you were studying?
There was no women on the course at all. I was the only one. I was actually really lucky, though, that I had a really kind of great group of peers that were on the course with me. Didn't find any kind of barriers. They just accepted me as another student. In my first foundation degree area, the only female I came across was the lecturer of law, was a female. And she was only kind of transferred into that kind of cohort to deliver the law module. But other than that, she didn't have anything to do with the actual construction departments.
So why do you think there's such a low intake of women? Do you think it's a historical perception? And
I think so, especially with the construction side of it. I think it's kind of seen as a dirty industry. I think people don't really see that there's much progression in it, that it's kind of the plumbing, electrical, on-site kind of physical jobs, and that they don't see that as maybe very secure. A lot of it is poorly paid, is normally the misperception, or that if you want good money, you have to go away to the likes of bigger projects like Hinkley Point or go to Australia is the kind of, and there's not much kind of just awareness. Like when you're in school, it's, from my experience, it's very much just all the boys want to go and do trades. They go to college to do that, and then they go and join a local construction firm. And there isn't much information or even just experience of how big projects are run. They tend to be quite closed off, which is something we've tried to do, especially in the port over the last few years with the projects we've had, is to publicise them more and to open them up and have visitors come in so they can experience and see actually what it entails, like all of the different roles, the different levels of them, and that, it isn't just this kind of dirty industry that just gets the job done, leaves the area. And
so I guess now you can probably understand why a lot of your colleagues see you as quite a role model with this, because STEM is so important, engineering is so important, and a lot of those technical roles which traditionally women don't take up, it's great to see someone do that. Could you explain why STEM is so critical to the evolution and modernisation of ports?
Yeah, I think it's really critical, especially to get people engaged at a young age in STEM, and to not just see it as kind of high achievers of a certain level going into very complex engineering projects. Actually, just having an interest in the science and the technologies is really important, because industry, construction, whether that's engineering, ports, is moving at such a fast pace. And the technology that's coming on board and being able to deliver a safe working environment, and to get things more efficient, more sustainable, it really is kind of a main focus that's at the forefront that really needs to be, kind of the gaps need to be filled there.
So, when we're looking at that gender gap, what do you see maybe a way forward to kind of bridge that gap a little bit?
I think we really need to start with the children at a really young age, and to just broaden their minds and to expose them to what jobs and careers are out there, and kind of show them what people are currently in those roles. Because I think, especially when you're younger, or you tend to just be aware of the industries that either your parents or your family or your friends are in, or maybe the local area. So, all right, down here we've got the refineries and the LNG terminals, so that's generally a kind of people and parents are like, oh, that's a good job to get into, it's secure, there's good money there. But for girls especially, there isn't just the exposure, the breadth of what is out there and what is available and what is just so accessible and achievable if you've got an interest in it.
Yeah. Do you think there's any barriers that prevent women from joining?
It's probably a lack of role models, and the exposure to it.
Yeah. And how do you think these barriers might be slightly different in other industries? Or do you think it's just a problem for STEM in particular across all industries?
I think generally it's a problem for STEM across most industries. It's getting better, and you do see more and more people there, but still it's far and few between. I think it's something really that needs to be focused on, is to get that exposure and get those role models.
So it's interesting that you're talking about role models and how actually that's a really good way forward to promote role models so that other women can see that, if she's done it and I can do it. Do you have a role model?
I wouldn't say I necessarily have a role model. I've just been very lucky to have really supportive people, male and female, in my career and my personal life that has encouraged me and backed me to not question myself or say, oh, actually, is this an industry I can do? Or they've always just said, go for it. Yeah. And there's never been any hesitation or, are you sure you want to do that? Yeah. Is that definitely where you want to be? So that's really a good thing that has helped me with my career.
But where do you get your motivation? Kind of being the only female, ploughing through, and where did you get all of that?
Part of it is I have a young daughter.
Yeah.
So I think, especially if you have children, you always tend to look back and think, oh, I'd want them to be proud of you and to see that you didn't let anything stop you achieving what you wanted to do. And also, I'm just quite a determined person. I've just like to achieve, always have wanted to get the best out of myself and out of life, and just hadn't really focused on what the barriers could be, rather than just look at the positives and think, well, why can't I do that?
So what advice would you give to a young woman who wants to get into a technical career in ports, and sometimes doesn't have that motivation that you have, and sometimes faces barriers? What advice would you give for them to keep going?
I definitely encourage them to try and get any form of exposure into the industry, whether that's if the schools have got any kind of programs or projects, whether that's perhaps they've got an influence teacher that's in science, or a kind of a mentor, and ask them to assist with perhaps getting a placement, or approach any of the industries. Like, there's so much access online now as well, between things like LinkedIn, looking at TikToks and YouTube. Just immerse yourself and find out what's out there, and find out who the employers are, or who's championing that kind of area, whether there's universities, colleges, courses, and just expose yourself to as much and as many people in that industry as you can. And you'll soon find something that fits and that you feel, actually, that's what I want to do.
So you mentioned mentoring just a minute ago, and we've had discussions about the Sparks program that you're involved in. Can you maybe tell the audience just a little bit what that program is and how that's helping young women and young people in getting a career in STEM?
Yeah, so the Spark program is rolled out to the secondary schools in Pembrokeshire, and there is a alliance of employers that support the program, and also then individuals that have agreed to either mentor or deliver either classroom based or on-site visits to encourage girls in the industry. So it's not the kind of typical program, as in you have to be a high achiever or be studying the STEM subjects. It's opened up to 14-year-olds that just have an interest. So they just register and say, yeah, I've got some form of interest in that. And it allows them then to be exposed to the kind of industries that are around here, what job opportunities they are, get them to have a go at kind of tasks. The idea is that you open their minds up to what is possible, but also what's on the doorstep here in Pembrokeshire. And then later on in the programme, we are putting ourselves forward to be mentors for the kind of 16 plus. So they'll have gone through the GCSEs. And that is kind of a really vital age, I felt, where I could offer something, because it's something I really missed having at maybe like 16, 17, when you're doing your A levels, is having a mentor that's in the industry that can help you understand what job opportunities there are, how you can go about university, or not university, going to apprenticeships, a college course, or going direct into employment, and then from there working out a route of your career path. So
that's really good to think of it like that, because I think the importance of mentorship is it's quite key for growth. How effective have these programs been in increasing female representation? Or is this just at the beginning, at the start of it?
So this is just the first kind of pilot year that Spark started in Pembrokeshire. But just to see the kind of engagement and the levels of girls that are signing up just shows it's really exciting and really positive that they're not concerned, or they're willing to, I've got some form of interest in this. I might not know what exactly I want to do, but just having the interest is where you need to capture the pupils then, and then you can help deliver from there.
So could you maybe share some examples of specific companies or organisations that are leading the way with gender and inclusion?
Oh, that's a difficult question. Oh God, I don't really know.
Don't worry.
We'll cut that bit. I was going to say us, and then I was like, I feel like locally.
You can talk
Yeah.
about, yeah, it's, if you want to talk about Milford, it's absolutely
Yeah.
fine. Yeah.
Okay. So I'd say it's one kind of company that I found. So working at the port, I transferred from estates to engineering and to projects. And it's a company that is very unusually female heavy. So in our project team, we've actually got more females than we've got males, which is kind of unheard of. And you can see it even when you interact with other companies or people come and visit and they walk into a room and there's 3-4 females from the project team and everyone's like, oh, it's still unusual to see. So yeah, I feel we're doing pretty good at recruiting, and the same at board level, and our senior management team here are pretty well represented by the female.
So just thinking about STEM and those technical roles, and obviously your journey, and how a lot of your colleagues see you as a role model. Do you think there's a lot of pressure for you to almost perform and be that role model?
There is to a certain degree. I think as a woman in an industry, not only in ports, but in the construction industry as well, which is underrepresented, you do sometimes get this feeling that, oh, I need to prove that I'm capable of doing this job, because there is still sometimes the kind of impression that, like, oh, it's female.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not what we expected. I've never had bad experiences, but you do also can see the kind of surprise on people's faces, or when you walk into a room, I'm fully aware, generally on like a site meeting, I might be the only female amongst 20 males.
How does it make you feel? Like, does it have an impact, or are you just so used to it now that
it's kind of I'm used to it now, and like I say, I've been lucky that I've never had bad experiences, so it's not something that I'm scared of. I kind of thrive off it in a weird way.
Yeah.
That I enjoy being able to maybe prove the perception wrong rather than the actual people that are in the room.
But what advice would you give to young women who have followed similar career paths and they are the only woman in the room and maybe not heard in that room? And what advice would you give to them to tackle that?
I think sometimes it's good to tackle it head on. So if you do come across anyone that's maybe questioning why you're there, or you don't have to go over the top and justify yourself, but just be confident enough in yourself to say, I'm as qualified as you are to be here. In this position, I was seen as adequate enough by my employer or by yourself, and to, just back yourself.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes you do need to call it out. And the 1 or 2 times where I've ever had to say, like, no, I'm not from marketing, I'm actually the project manager. Most people are horrified and they don't realise what they've done or how they've come across.
Yeah.
And when you call them out on it, they are mortified, and they're like, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to cause offence, and that's great that you're the project manager, nice to meet you, and then it carries on. But I think it is good sometimes you just need to pinch in the bud and highlight it at the start.
It's almost like a moment to educate, like use it as an opportunity to educate rather than take offence.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we spoke about a lot of, trying to get young women or get a diversity into technical roles. We spoke about mentoring. What about what measures are being taken to not only attract but also retain women in technical roles, especially within ports and maritime?
I think just from the time that I've been in the industry, increasing the kind of offerings that employers have just for staff, and small things like PPE, like female PPE is still a nightmare to get hold of, and that's not necessarily the employer's fault. It's just not that widely available. It's not fitting correctly, and it's small things that people can do to have that as readily available as any other uniform in the industry. So you're proud, it's easy to go to work with, you don't feel like you've got a barrier just to get some steel toe cap boots or a high vis that fits you.
Yeah.
And also just being kind of accommodating and inclusive in the workplace for a woman. Not seeing, I mean, I know it comes for all women maybe that it's like, oh, can I take a career break to have children? Have they got facilities for myself if you're coming back after maternity leave and things like that? Just make it as easy and fluid and just not such a taboo topic either, to just help retain women and make it as easy to come to work as it is maybe to stay at home and not have the career.
So it's quite interesting because you spoke about, starting a family whilst, starting your career, and, you studied. And how did you essentially manage all of that? And I guess, how did your workplace help you in that management?
I did take on a lot. I thought I'd have a toddler, a degree, and a full-time job all running at the same time. I think sometimes it's not for the faint-hearted. But actually, once you're in it, once you sign up to studying or going into the job, you want to do as best as you can. And I found actually it was really good to do it at the same time, although tough, because I could apply the degree straight into the job. So it helped me understand and achieve better in my degree because you could put it into practice. And it helped me with my career as well, because I was learning and being able to bring in kind of maybe new technologies or awareness of things that were being taught in the lecture halls, and being like, right, we're really far off in reality, maybe what's being delivered on the curriculum. So that I found was quite a good kind of like bridging gap to give feedback. But as far as my employer in the port, they were absolutely brilliant. And I was allowed study days. I could take time and speak to mentors, or whether it was people in the industry that I have to be working along with to support me with my dissertation and interviews and that sort of thing. And just having some flexible working as well. Obviously, a site operates longer hours than perhaps the contracted hours you work in the office. So I would just adapt my working hours to suit, all right, the working site, go and see them. And then maybe, right, I'll take a few hours now to study while there was downtime. And then, come back in and do the kind of admin in the office role.
I want to drink what you're drinking. I think we all need a bit of that. Just like, it's really great to hear that you've had such a positive experience in your journey. And obviously, I think it also helps the fact that you've had a really great employer who's been on that journey with you. What advice would you give to other ports in having that similar journey for women?
I think it's really important to be open to people, to your employees coming to you and saying, look, I'm interested in this career path, or I might be interested in this studying or whatever it is, that to try and broaden their horizons, that if you have an employee that joins a company that necessarily they might not want to stay in that role, but actually you're better off encouraging them, helping them to maybe then progress somewhere else in the path than losing them altogether. And going to a different industry or going to a different employer. To just be really as open as you can to, and encouraging your employees to come and say, look, actually, did you realise that I might have applied for this job, but I'm really keen in this industry, or I've got this hidden talent and I'd like to use it. And I think that having kind of that two-way conversation is really, really important.
So now looking to the future, so we've spoken about retaining staff and what other ports can learn, but looking at the future, how have technology advancements transformed port operations in recent years?
I think there's been a lot of developments on the technology front, and it's good to see them kind of filter through now into reality and the kind of daily operations, because I think there's quite a lot of technologies that are really advanced and brilliant, but actually getting them implemented into a business is the kind of difficult stage, getting people to put their trust in them, go on board with them, and also for companies to invest in them. But we're seeing now those technologies are actually starting to be embedded, especially things to do with health and safety, which is obviously key and brilliant. So, and it's nice to see the industry move with the times. I think sometimes ports, construction, they can be seen as being left behind or slow in the take up of technologies, but it seems to be changing pace, which is really good.
So what's the biggest misconception that women have about ports and technology?
I suppose they probably don't see them as related that much. They see them kind of as separate industries, and that there isn't really much of an overlap. I think people have this conception of ports that it's literally just pilots and boats, and that's all that the port does and has to offer. And don't get me wrong, it's a major part of our port, but they feel that that is the only kind of world, and that they don't understand the kind of breadth the port reaches out and how much it actually covers and what it entails to keep a port functioning just alongside pilots. And the same, I think they just don't see technologies as sitting maybe within businesses either. They see them as kind of just technology companies that sit in a kind of silo and are just pulled in to deliver something for business.
It's almost like sometimes they can't see the relationship, but actually they are married, essentially. Just thinking about your future, so you've obviously come this far. What does the future look like for you? Where do you see the next move?
I'd really like to just gain more experience in the delivery of big projects. So I've been lucky enough to join the project team. I was given the hotel as one of the first projects to work on, which...
It's a great hotel, by the way. I stayed there on my visit. It's been fantastic. Everyone should come and visit.
So that was like a really kind of exciting first project to be involved in. And then I've gone across to Pembrokeshire Marine, which was a lot more infrastructure, slipways, pontoons, lay down areas, office space. It was a lot more grey and concrete than the Gucci hotel, which was drapes and bedding. But just to kind of broaden and have experience in the different projects is something that I'm really looking forward to. And
so can you maybe tell the audience, what's the most exciting thing about your job?
I always say, as somebody that's really social, the most exciting thing about my job is the vast amount of people that you get to interact with, whether that's stakeholders, the local people that are perhaps walking past the site, asking what you're doing, being able to say, look, we're improving the area, we're improving our infrastructure, we're making something better for our clients. Again, just it amazes me the amount of kind of technical meetings you get drawn into, and the talent of engineers, designers, architects, coming across people like that on a kind of daily basis is just, it's exciting.
I mean, I did see you out in the community last night being a steward for the fireworks display, so I can see that you're everywhere, and it's great that you're part of that, right? Just to think about the future of STEM within ports, how do you envisage a future of women in STEM in the industry?
I really think that it's going to be a kind of turning point. I think at the moment we're putting in a lot of efforts into the younger generations of STEM and Spark programs and things like that. And I think we're starting to see that kind of change in the amount of apprentices that are females and the amount of females that are taking on engineering degrees or construction degrees. And they're starting to slowly filter into the industry. And I think it's really important to just keep the momentum of that going. And hopefully in a few years' time, this won't be a topic of conversation. It'll just be a given that there's representation from everybody.
So we're going to be coming to an end soon, but what's that one advice that you want young women to, could be to do with STEM, could be to do with career, but just that one advice that you'd want to give to young women listening in today?
I just want them to be confident enough to go after whatever interests them. To not see any of the barriers, to not see any of the questions that people might have about why you'd want to go into that career. If you have an interest in any of the STEM subjects or any, you can make a career out of it, and to just go for it.
So, as you know, majority of the industry is actually men. What advice would you give to men in aiding women in that journey?
I would ask them, to, if there's females already currently that they're working alongside, is to just, and it sounds so simple, appreciate them for how good a employee or person they are delivering in that role as their job. Yeah. Don't just look at them as a project manager. Don't look at them as a female. Are they able to achieve as much as the next project manager? Yeah. It shouldn't be a question of, oh, they're a female, and to make any kind of exceptions for them. Yeah. And also just be open, and because it's just as important to have male role models as it is females for the next generation. Be open to giving experiences, giving talks, exposing the industry as much as possible in whatever way they can.
And finally, in 3 words, what should women in ports be?
Same as everyone else.
Same as everyone. That's 4 words.
I have 4.
But I'll take it. Take it. Thank you very, very much for today. It's been really, really fun speaking to you and going on your journey. And hopefully this will inspire the next generation of women thinking about coming into STEM careers. So thank you so much, Claire.
No problem. Thank you.